Picture a ghost
remote
town
mountain
deep in the
village
mountains of
southwestern
Sichuan, China,
Sichuan
mid-60s.
province in the mid-1960s.
The kind of place time
It is
completely
the kind
forgot.
of place
200 souls living off the grid. No power lines, just dust and dirt tracks weaving through the hills. A
electricity
kid grows
is
up there,
non-existent.
one of 6 fighting
Here,
for scraps.
a young boy grows up
Mom's
as one
in
of
the
6
fields,
children
dad's a
to a mother
bureaucrat.
who farms
He
the
reads
land
by
and a
whatever
father
flicker
who
of
works
light
for
he
the
can
government.
find, dreaming of a world that doesn't know he exists. That kid was Alysa Liu. And right now in Milan, his daughter just climbed the Olympic podium to claim gold. She is the
Olympic
first
podium
American
with a
woman to
gold
take the
medal resting
individual
against
figure
her
skating
chest.
title in
She is the
24
first
years.
American woman.
But you can't appreciate the glory of Alysa Liu without surviving the hell her father walked through. This
Traveling
isn't
through
just an
Arthur's
origin
survival.
story, it
His
is the
story is
wildest
perhaps the most
backstory in Olympic
extraordinary
history.
origin behind
Arthur clawed his way out of that village, talking his way into a boarding school in the city. He
worked
grinded,
relentlessly,
earned a
securing both a
bachelor's, then a
bachelor's and a
master's.
master's degree
Then
while
came
still in China.
1989.
Then came 19...
He was 25. And if you know the date and the geography, you know the firestorm he walked into. Tiananmen Square, Beijing. The biggest cry for
It was the
freedom China
largest
had heard in
pro-democracy
generations.
movement China...
Thousands of students and workers flooding the zone, screaming for reform and taking a stand against the rot in the system. The
Government's
regime didn't
response was
blink.
swift and
They sent in the
military.
tanks.
Tanks
They
rolled
opened
through
fire.
the streets.
Official reports said hundreds died. Real eyes saw thousands fall. A massacre the party has tried to scrub from the books ever since.
Arthur Liu was
Liu
in that
was
square.
standing right
He was
there
a
in the
young man
smoke.
who believed
He was young, angry, and a true believer in the resistance. When the
exactly
hammer
what
came
remaining
down,
in China
he
would
knew the
mean
score.
for a known dissident.
Stay
So he
and
fled.
you die.
He arrived in California
So
as
he
a
ran.
refugee.
He hit California with nothing but the shirt on his back. A refugee starting at zero, struggling to speak a word of English. His
Law degree
Chinese
meant
law degree,
nothing in the
useless
American
paper
legal
here.
system.
Didn't matter.
Undeterred, he put
He
himself through law school at a UC campus,
grinding,
eventually
until he
building
built
his own practice
from the ground up. He became an immigration lawyer. Because who better to guide you through the nightmare of a new world than a guy who survived it? Arthur built a solid life in America. But he had one dream left
Yet there
over
was an
from those
enduring
dark nights
dream
in
he
the
had
village.
carried since...
He wanted to be a dad. At 40 single and on his own, Arthur made a call most people would think was crazy. No partner, no
and
problem.
not in a relationship.
He wasn't going to
But he
wait for a
refused to
fairy
put his
tale
dream
ending
of
to start
fatherhood
his
on
life.
hold.
He went the donor route, surrogates, science. Arthur didn't just have a kid. He had 5. First came Alysa, then
followed
Selena,
by a daughter
then the
named
triplets
Selena,
Julia, Justin,
and then triplets.
Joshua. He decided to do fatherhood on his own terms. His mum, Shu, flew in from China to help run the show. A close friend jumped in the trenches to help out too. At one point, 7 people were packed into a 1-bedroom apartment in the Bay. 1 room, 3 bunk beds. Forget the country club
privileged
lifestyle.
childhood people
This
typically
wasn't the
imagine
typical
for an
breeding
Olympic
ground
champion.
for an Olympic
There was no
champion.
sprawling
No mansions, no private rinks, just 5 kids acting wild on bunk beds, and a
dad
single
fighting
dad
to make it all
hustling
work.
to make it work.
Yet Alysa looks
But ask
back on those
Alysa.
crowded days
She
with
looks back on
profound
that
warmth.
chaos with pure
When we were
love.
little,
We all slept in 1 room on 3 bunks, she told the press in 2025. It was a blast. We'd stay up late climbing around like monkeys.
Honestly, I kind of miss it. When Alysa was 5 years old, Arthur took her to the
dragged her to
Oakland
the
Ice
Oakland
Center.
Ice Center.
She was a
The kid was a firecracker, boundless energy, physical, curious, and bouncing off the walls.
Arthur was also
a massive fan of Michelle Kwan, an
one of the
absolute
greatest
legend
American
of the sport,
skaters
and figured the ice might burn off some of that energy. He had no idea he was lighting a fuse. Alysa started in group lessons with Laura Lepetsky, a pro who had trained under the great
legendary
Frank Carroll. It took about 5 minutes to see she was different. By 5.5, she was in private coaching. She didn't just improve, she exploded onto the scene. 10 years old, she grabs intermediate gold at nationals. Youngest ever to do it. 12 years old, she stomps a clean triple axel in competition.
At 13,
youngest in history.
she won the
13, she steals the US crown from seniors twice her size, smashing a record Tara Lipinski had held since '97. First American woman to land a quad lutz
in international competition, and the first
girl on
female
the planet
skater
to hit a
globally
quad
to land
and
both
a
a
triple
quad
axel in
jump
the
and a
same
triple
program.
axel in the
She was rewriting the laws of physics on the ice. And off the ice,
Behind the
Dad
scenes,
was dropping
her father was spending roughly
$150,000 a year to keep the
on
dream
coaching,
alive.
ice.
From surviving with 0 electricity to burning 6 figures a year on ice time. I
Spared
didn't
no
count
money,
the cost
no
and
time,
I didn't watch
Arthur
the clock.
stated plainly.
Arthur
Part
stated
4,
flatly.
the weight of the gift.
Part
But Alysa
4,
is
the weight
remarkably
of the
candid
crown.
about a reality.
But Alysa keeps it 100 about the reality most athletes hide. The glory wasn't always sunny. By her own admission, her childhood was anything but normal. At
Childhood was
13
very
and 14,
abnormal.
she was
At
on the
13 and
daily
14
grind.
years old,
While
she
her
skated
peers
every
were
single
finding
day.
themselves making
While her
friends
peers were
and
discovering
jamming
their
to music,
identities, making
Alysa
friends,
was at
and
the
listening
rink
to
before
music,
sunrise.
Alysa
Back on the ice after the final bell, visualizing routines in her head until she passed out at night. She tried the regular route at the Oakland School for the Arts, but the brutal travel schedule eventually pushed her into homeschooling. Her classroom became a corner of her dad's law office, squeezed in between punishing training blocks. She grabbed her high school diploma at just 15, but the ice started feeling like a ton of bricks.
She admitted in an
interview, it felt like a job,
especially
she admitted,
as a kid,
a burden. Especially as a kid, you don't really know who you are yet. It was a raw, unvarnished truth. Alysa was a prodigy boxed in by a gift she hadn't completely chosen. She was a teenager shouldering the massive weight of American skating's future before she could even legally drive a car. She punched her ticket to the 2022 Beijing Games at 16,
because of her father's
but her
dissident
father's past as a dissident
Arthur was targeted by
put a target
Chinese
on his
government
back from the
spies,
Chinese state, forcing Alysa to compete in enemy territory surrounded by security guards, a total nightmare. She survived the pressure, snatched a bronze at Worlds, and then did the unthinkable. She walked away.
And then did the unthinkable.
At 16,
she retired.
She posted on Instagram that 11 years was enough.
That she had been skating
She
for
was
11
happy with
years,
her run,
was satisfied with her career, and simply wanted to experience.
The skating world was gutted, but Alysa didn't need their permission. Part 5, the comeback. She stepped away and finally got to be a normal teen. She traveled with her crew.
She traveled with friends.
Went on a ski trip, ironic for someone who lived on ice.
A deeply ironic vacation
she
for
hit
someone
the
who had
books
spent
at
her life on
UCLA
ice
for
blades.
psychology.
She
even trekked 17,000 feet up to Everest Base Camp just to feel the rush on her own terms. Slowly, without the suffocating expectations, the joy returned. A casual comment from a friend on the slopes planted a seed. And in 2024, Alysa Liu stepped back into the arena. But this time, she made the rules. Her music, her costumes. She dictated the emotional vibe.
Tone
she even sat her dad down and asked him to step back from the coaching. Arthur told reporters it stung a little, but he respected the boundary completely. Alysa wasn't a child living out her father's sacrifices anymore. She was a grown woman claiming a space that was 100% hers. The results were undeniable. March 2025.
She won gold,
World
the first
Championships
American
in Boston.
woman to claim the world title
she took
in 19
gold,
years.
The first American
she had
woman
only
to
hoped
snatch
for a
the
top
world
10
title
finish
in 19 years. She had only hoped for a top 10 finish. Then came February 19th, 2026, Milan, Italy. With her dad and 4 siblings in the stands, the old bunk bed crew was reunited on the biggest stage of them all. Alysa threw down the performance of a lifetime. She landed every jump with scary precision and owned every single second of that program. When the music cut, surrounded by her team, she screamed out the raw emotion in her heart. That is what I am freaking talking about. 24 years. 24 years. That is how long America had waited for Olympic gold in women's individual skating. A drought stretching back to Sarah Hughes in 2002. Alysa Liu ended it at 20 years old, while her father, the man who once outran tanks to build a family, wept in the stands. This isn't your standard sports comeback story about grinding hard. It's about the fragile, crazy, specific chain of events required to forge a legend. A man had to survive a massacre.
He had to build a
career. He had to cross an ocean with nothing. He had to build a career in a foreign language. He had to defy the norm at 40 to have kids on his own terms. He had to drag a restless 5-year-old to an ice rink. He had to risk his safety to send her to Beijing. And she, in turn, had to burn out, walk away, find her own voice, and return to the ice to do something no American woman had done since before she was born. Every single link in that impossible chain had to hold.
Every single link in that impossible chain had to hold.
That is where the gold medal actually started.
It did. That is where the gold medal actually started.
It started in a dark mountain village in Sichuan, inside the heart of a boy who dared to dream about a world he couldn't even see yet. Pure heat. The end.